Fuck around, make my 40 pop.
Alright, y'all. Sarada has not had her Sharingan appear yet, and I think that this right here could definitely be a problem. Now, overall, I have to say, it's not necessarily that big of a deal simply because I don't necessarily think that Sarada has had too much crazy moments in Boruto TBV so far where she absolutely needed to have the Mangekyou Sharingan. However, we do have to take into account she is a super important character, and of her getting power-ups later and later down the line in the series, I don't necessarily think that's the best for the entertainment value for the series, and I think that Sarada, potentially, her Mangekyou Sharingan can actually be one of the best and most entertaining power-ups in the series of Boruto. Now, entertainment-wise, I think that the payoff could definitely be worth it once they actually do introduce the Mangekyou Sharingan. I do want to talk about when that right there could actually happen a little bit later on in the video, but I think that it could actually be a decent payoff. Like, let's be honest, Sarada herself could actually get like a full arc where they highlight the Mangekyou Sharingan and she becomes like the focal point of Boruto the whole entire series for like, let's say, half a year. I won't necessarily disagree and say like that right there is impossible to happen, but of course it has to be good. The writers have to handle this correctly. Looking at Sarada's Mangekyou Sharingan, I think we could take some hints about when she actually activated her original Sharingan. If you guys don't necessarily recall, her original awakening of the Sharingan happened like years before she was able to like utilize it regularly. And even still, I don't necessarily even think Sarada like utilized it regularly a lot in the series of Boruto, and especially in the part 1 manga. But when she originally awakened it, she was significantly younger than what she was when she started to use it regularly. If you guys recall, one of the biggest moments that she did actually utilize it was when she first seen Sasuke, and I think this could again be another hint towards when she can actually like utilize her Mangekyou Sharingan for the first time. So when it comes to trends with Sarada, I guess this would be like a regular thing. I mean, hopefully she gets the Rinnegan and doesn't necessarily repeat this trend, but regardless, another thing I do have to point out, it's possible that she doesn't even know she actually does have the Mangekyou Sharingan. That right there could be like a reason as to why she hasn't necessarily been utilizing the Mangekyou Sharingan as heavily as we kind of thought she should be. Now, not only that, of course, the chakra concerns are probably going to be there as well. She had chakra concerns with the regular Sharingan, and we know that the original Sharingan put a lot of stress on the actual body of Sarada, so the Mangekyou Sharingan is just going to take that up to a completely different level. And to be honest, it could be a reason as to why she isn't necessarily utilizing the Mangekyou Sharingan. She might think to herself that her body just simply isn't necessarily ready for it. She needs to mature a little bit more, maybe become like 17 or 18 years old before she actually starts to utilize it regularly. It could be that. Another thing we have to point out is the blind feature with the Mangekyou Sharingan, of course, because it does make you blind. The times that Sarada needs to use it has to be like some of the most important and specific times, and of course that just goes into training. Like, how in the world is she going to be able to actually train with the Mangekyou Sharingan? I actually think that Kakashi would be perfect to actually train with Sarada, simply because he had a Mangekyou Sharingan. He wasn't necessarily like a regular Uchiha member, because he had to figure out a way to utilize the Mangekyou Sharingan and make it super effective, even though he had a limited chakra reserves. I think that if Sarada actually does want to train with the Mangekyou Sharingan, hypothetically if she didn't already, I think that Kakashi would be a very good character to potentially teach her how to utilize the Sharingan. I think that Kakashi could be a character to teach her how to actually maximize the Sharingan. So overall, looking at a couple of these things, it is reasonable to see why she hasn't necessarily used it before in the past. However, one of the things that was kind of emphasized early on in Boruto Part 1 was that Sarada was impeccable with chakra control, and in my personal opinion, the chakra control is essentially going to be what kind of spurs her Mangekyou Sharingan abilities. If you guys don't necessarily know, with chakra control, it essentially minimizes the waste of chakra that you actually do utilize. Of course, chakra control contributes to a lot more things, but specifically with this, Sarada is able to make her chakra significantly more efficient if she has great chakra control, which means that she can actually utilize more jutsus utilizing less amounts of chakra, because her mother is Sakura, and of course because they train a lot. I have to assume eventually her chakra control is going to be like elite. If that's actually the case, you have to assume that Sarada would be able to almost freely use the Mangekyou Sharingan, simply because she wouldn't necessarily be utilizing that much chakra. I think that could be the key to actually getting Sakura to actually utilize the Mangekyou Sharingan a lot more, and potentially even cancel out the blind mechanic. And to be honest, I think that there's going to be something else that cancels out the blind mechanic once she actually does utilize the Mangekyou Sharingan. May it be scientific technology, may it be one of the other Shin Uchiha Mangekyou Sharingans, and then she gets an eternal Mangekyou Sharingan. I think they're going to find a way around that blind mechanic. But to be honest, chakra control could be a decent way to get her to essentially expand that Mangekyou Sharingan timeline throughout the entirety of the series, and have her essentially power up that Mangekyou Sharingan when she absolutely needs to at the end of the series. I think that could be a very good time. Now, not only that, of course, I talked about it could be a very good time. When is she actually going to utilize it? I talked about this before. I think the soonest time that she could actually utilize it was probably going to be in the battle against Hidari. I think that this battle right here is going to be super sentimental, and of course, because hypothetically she's going to know that it's her father, and of course, if she actually does battle him in a battle battle like that versus a character like Hidari, I think he's going to force her to actually need to utilize the Mangekyou Sharingan. I know she saw some up early, but in my personal opinion, I think that he's still stronger than Sarada. I think if Sarada actually does eventually beat Hidari, I can't necessarily see a way where she does it without the Mangekyou Sharingan if it's a 1v1 battle. So that's what I would say. But another thing, it could be a lot later, and this right here is what I was talking about a little bit earlier in the video. They could essentially save it for an actual arc where Sarada is like the main feature and the main character of this arc, and to be honest, of the Boruto series. And because it's a monthly manga, you could easily see it span from like 6 to 8 months and Sarada be like the core character for like an entire year. I think that could be a very good thing for a lot of the Sarada fans out there. They absolutely love it. I know as of right now we haven't necessarily been seeing too much Sarada, and of course the love triangle is damn near her main storyline as of right now outside of the Hidari thing. So I think at this particular point they wouldn't necessarily mind that, but me personally, I'd much rather her essentially have the Mangekyou Sharingan early on in the series and have her utilizing it throughout all the other battles that she actually does get into. I think that would make a lot of her battles a lot more entertaining. Now I do have to point out there's a possibility that she just utilized the Mangekyou Sharingan like sporadically, kind of like how Boruto used the Jogan earlier on the Boruto anime, where it just pops up whenever, or it just pops up in the actual arc it's supposed to pop up, like the Sumune arc. I think that could definitely happen with the Mangekyou Sharingan. Hypothetically, the next battle that she actually does get into, imagine if she fights against Hidari and then the Mangekyou Sharingan pops up and then it just goes away and then it just never returns for like another year in the Boruto manga, another 12 chapters. I don't necessarily think that's completely out of the realm of possibilities, and to be honest, I think that would probably be like one of the more realistic options, because it would essentially have Sarada be able to use the Mangekyou Sharingan but not necessarily tax it to where she be blind, and I think that they would kind of emphasize that. In my personal opinion, I think that Sarada's chakra control should limit that a little bit, but of course if the Boruto writers want to add that in and of course have her utilize the Mangekyou Sharingan sporadically, that could be a reason as to why the Boruto writers would want to do that. Now specifically with this, one of the reasons why I want her to actually utilize the Mangekyou Sharingan a lot earlier, I think the Mangekyou Sharingan, don't get me wrong, I think it's like an evergreen dojutsu. Like for example, like Obito. If Obito comes into Boruto right now, if he gets reanimated, Kamui is immediately going to be a useful technique that he could actually use. So I think that Sarada's abilities from the Mangekyou Sharingan, it is definitely going to be useful. Even after the point I'm about to say, keep this in mind. I think once Sarada actually does utilize or get the Mangekyou Sharingan, I think there's going to be 1 or 2 abilities specific to her Mangekyou Sharingan that's going to be super critical to the actual time that we're in right now in Boruto. So even though there's a bunch of divine arts flying around, I think the Mangekyou Sharingan isn't going to be like completely fodder. I think there's going to be specific techniques that will be helpful. But I want her to actually get the Mangekyou Sharingan early because I want her to get more dojutsus. I'm pretty sure we all know the Eternal Mangekyou Sharingan is likely going to be next. The Rinnegan can be next. I want her to get potentially even like scientific dojutsus, maybe some divine art dojutsus, some absolutely broken stuff. So I think that if the Mangekyou Sharingan is introduced like significantly earlier on, it just opens the door for that much more power-ups and that much more dojutsus that Sarada can actually get, and of course that much more forms. I know one of the more entertaining things in the Boruto space is of course comparing and contrasting, even power scaling some of the Boruto and Sasuke versions. Like for example, we talk about Naruto part 1 or even Naruto, let's go into Naruto part 2, Naruto KCM 1, Naruto KCM 2, Naruto KCM with the Sage mode stacked on top of it, and then of course the Sage of 6 Paths Naruto, then Sage of 6 Paths Naruto with Chakra mode stacked on top of it, then Sage of 6 Paths mode with Chakra mode stacked on top of it while being covered in the Susanoo. I want Sarada to experience that. I don't want part 2 Sarada to just be like base Sarada, Sharingan Sarada, and Mangekyou Sharingan Sarada. I think that would be boring for the character of Sarada, someone of her echelon. So I think that her having the Mangekyou Sharingan earlier would probably be like the best thing. But let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. Where do you guys think Sarada's Sharingan is, bro? We got to get to the bottom of this, man. But it's me, your boy, Barry B, and we out.
It's a knife.